on Ben Coomber Radio, episode number 89. Me and Rachel are in the house. Rachel, you're looking extra foxy today because you're in a foxy onesie.
Thank you very much, Benny. Yes, I am in a fox onesie. For those of you who can see me on YouTube, you're probably wondering why the hell is Rachel at 30 years old wearing a ridiculous outfit? Well, I can tell you now, it is not ridiculous. It serves a purpose. That purpose is it's cold outside and it's pretty cute. And I have to say thank you very much to one of my clients for buying this for me. But it's so comfortable, I don't want to take it off. So I know I look a bit ridiculous. And I have to admit, it is a little bit hot in here. And underneath, though, let me just reveal what I have underneath. Of course, Jack Wills. So,
do you know,
so
the
Jack
awful
Wills
thing
t-shirt
is,
underneath the fox onesie.
we're both wearing Jack Wills t-shirts, and mine was 100% unintentional. It just went on this morning, and now I'm sat here again talking about Jack Wills on the podcast. Awful. I've got an epic one. I've got a crocodile onesie.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh my god, next time we do it, let's just both do it in onesies.
Okay, alright, we'll do it. I've got to wear big socks with mine though because it's too short in the leg because I'm obviously just so tall and lanky. I have to wear big fluffy socks to keep me little shins warm.
Well, I have to confess, look, it is winter over here in Australia and I do have Ugg boots on. But, you know, Ugg boots are one of those things, like you wear them in a house as slippers only. It's a bit, you know, if you wear Ugg boots outside in Australia, it's a little bit of a bogan thing to do.
Yeah,
so
I've seen Aussie men do that.
Only.
It's not cool. Men wearing Ugg boots, not cool.
No, like men wearing Ugg boots, no, it's not the done thing. Oh, inside, yeah, okay, well, it's okay, but outside, no.
No, just no. I'm no fashion expert, but no.
Do you have big slippers then? Do you have like those big cartoon slippers and stuff? Because they're pretty cool.
No, I don't. Don't have any
I'm
slippers.
gonna buy them for Christmas.
No, I just wear like ski socks in the house.
Yeah.
Just keep my tootsies warm. And I have a cold house in the winter. But it's really hot here and I'm getting a tan, so it's all good.
Oh, amazing. Well, I'm as white as they come. So I've got 4 weeks till I leave and I'm back in Europe. So I'm going to be in Marbella for 2 weeks. I'm looking forward to training at the new Ultimate Performance UP Centre over in Marbella. And then I'm off to France for 2 weeks. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be good fun. Do some hard training and develop some cool new things and some new content, so I'm really looking forward to it. So
nice.
Got an exciting couple of months ahead.
Hey, did you listen to last week's show?
I did. That was pretty inspirational. My god, that guy is wow. Well, what can I
190 kilos, right? No legs.
It just goes to show, you know, like so many people just have such bullshit excuses of why things aren't getting done. And, you know, the truth is that when you start just taking responsibility, I mean, God, we've talked about this so many times on the show previously, where as soon as you start taking responsibility for yourself and you realise what's possible. I mean, he was incredible.
Really awesome guy. So cool. And because I got to meet him, at Body Power, it was nice to have that kind of connection and talk again.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's guests that are on the show that are, you know, they're brilliant, but I've never met them, and sometimes you want to have just met them to make that kind of connection personally, because it opens up a little bit more as well. You kind of break down a few more personal barriers, and that's another reason I think he was brilliant, because he didn't. There was nothing that was left unsaid. Like, I could ask him whatever I wanted. You could tell him he was that kind of guy that would openly talk about things, which made the discussion so much better because you could just be really honest.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think it's one of the most important things. You know, when you actually look, somebody said to me this really good quote over the weekend, and that is, there's no conversation not worth having, because every conversation that you have with somebody will, you know, some things trigger different thoughts and different outcomes, and you never know who you're going to talk to. You know, it could be like I'll tell you something just completely random. I was at the coffee shop the other day and I was, you know, head down in my work, and I had my laptop there and, you know, my iPhone, and my iPhone cable's pink. This guy came and sat down next to me, and I had my headphones in, and, you know, I thought, oh God, he's going to be really annoying now, and really he's going to talk to me. So as he did, he sat down and he talked to me and he said, So I took my headphones out, and he said, "Oh, I can see your favorite color's pink." Me being me, I said, "Well, actually, no, it's orange." And anyway, we had, long story short, we had this brilliant conversation, and this guy was amazing in what he did, and you know, his past and his history and everything. And you know, I found myself talking to a new friend, and you know, after that, I kind of thought that was a little bit rude of me. Like, I shouldn't have. You know, I had this preconceived idea of how the conversation was going to go, and it wasn't. Like, it was an amazing conversation. So yeah, talk to more people.
I'll forward it to you. There's an amazing clip going around the internet at the moment, how so many people are like head down in their phones, on apps, in Facebook and all the rest of it, and no one sees the world around them, and it's so powerful. Like, it's awesome.
How good is it? Like, I sat there, I think it was a couple of weeks ago now, I saw that.
Oh, you've seen it?
Yeah, it's amazing. Like, amazing. I can't believe we didn't talk about this a couple of weeks ago, actually, because I reposted and retweeted it and stuff, and not many people watched it. And it was just one of those things where I literally sat there after watching that. My jaw was on my desk, and I literally, I think it just brought me to tears, because there's two versions going around, and one of them actually made me cry. And for anyone who doesn't know me, I'm a tough girl and I'm not a crier. But that one really made me cry, because there are times where I've caught myself walking down the street just dicking around on Facebook or just going through my emails, and it's so true. You miss the world going by. Like, you know, I think we should find that video and both repost it on our pages when we release this podcast. I think that's a really good idea, because the more people who see that, the better.
Yeah. It's like I went for a walk at the weekend down like the seaside close to where we are. It was an amazing day, and was walking there with my girlfriend and brother, and I stopped at the top of the hill, just put my hands on the railing and was just looking around, taking a few deep breaths, and they were like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm stopping to take it in." Like, people go to these, you know, you go to the countryside for a beautiful walk, and you kind of you walk, and sometimes you don't actually stop and engage in why you've gone to that walk. You know, we walked up on the coastline. It was beautiful. It was a magnificent day. It was 25 degrees. Everyone was out. There was laughter in the air. There was fun. And I was like, oh, hang on, I need to take 60 seconds to actually take in the reason why I've come up on this walk, which is to take in the surroundings and the beauty and kind of feel calm and relaxed with things. And yeah, it's sometimes we do something but don't actually engage in why we're doing it. It's like you might go to a spa to relax, but you're lying there in the jacuzzi going over your work and going over all these different scenarios and things in your head. And I'm like, no, you've come here to switch all that off for 2 hours and unwind the mind and forget about it. So I think we might put ourselves in these situations. We actually need to physically and mentally engage in that change of thought process.
Absolutely. I think it's really important to be able to switch off and to find a bit of balance, you know. And I feel like such a hypocrite when I talk about this sometimes, because my life is sometimes far from balanced. You know, there are a couple of months here and there that are crazy, but you know, I think you have to find things to do that are balanced. And I say to a lot of my clients, and I'm sure you do too, what do you do to relax, and what's your downtime? And a lot of my clients say, oh, training is. But really, when they're in especially if my clients are other personal trainers, they're not, that's not actually downtime, and that's not balance for them. So, you know, for me, for an example, I love lying in the sun. That's my real downtime. And I've realized that I probably need another hobby. So don't laugh. I've just applied for a firearms license. I'm going to learn to shoot a gun. So that's going to be my new hobby.
Mate, it's such a cool pastime.
It's a cool pastime, right? Yeah. I'm going to look like such a badass.
Yeah.
But, I think I'm going to. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to shoot a gun in my Fox onesie. Now that will be badass.
That would be foxy.
And I'll look like a bit of a dickhead, but there we go.
Well, if you are ever in the UK and you end up in my neck of the woods, we'll whip the old shotguns out and
Yeah, let's do some clay pigeon shooting and all that stuff. That would be very cool. I used to do that when I was a kid.
Yeah, we've got a clay machine. Yep, easy.
Awesome. Easy. Sounds good. Anyway, let's rock in with these questions. I've got some really cool ones today.
Yeah, just one announcement from me.
Yeah.
I've done quite a lot of different and cool seminars this this last 3 or 4 months, the Lane Norton tour footage will be available very, very soon. I'd like to think it'll be available by the time this podcast goes up, but I can't guarantee it. What will be available is a lot of my body power talks and some other audio stuff that I've done. And if you go to bencoomber.com, there's a tab called the Learning Zone, and in there's new videos, recordings. I talk about how to optimize the female menstrual cycle and how to periodize training in and around it. I talk about building performance from the inside out. So how do you strip someone's diet back? How do you work out all the inflammatory agents? And then what is the supplement protocol to build into that? Which for me is something that's changed an awful lot, my gut repair supplement protocol, and it'll probably change again in a year or two's time, probably get another tweak. But I think this is really powerful now. So yeah, just head on over to bencoomber.com for people that want to learn a bit more stuff, because there's some juicy information there.
Awesome. Sounds very exciting. And do you have any tours coming up? I can't remember what you said now last time we chat.
There's 2 big things in the pipeline, but I am not ready to release details.
Ooh, same here. I've got 2 super exciting projects coming up, but I can't talk about them just yet. Maybe in a week or two's time we can talk about them.
No.
But I'm also
squirrel.
sworn to secret squirrel stuff.
Yeah.
I did tell you, Benny, but you're sworn to secrecy. Secret squirrels.
I am a secret squirrel.
Yes, you are indeed. Okay, you ready?
Ready.
Okay, this question comes from... I'm not sure, so I'm going to read it out anyway. Hi, Ben. I have been on my weight loss journey for quite a few years now. Starting at 210 pounds, I have yo-yo dieted my way down until last year, where I reached a really healthy weight. I'm now down to 160 pounds at 173 centimetres. I was tested and I have a body fat percentage of 34% with lean muscle mass of 101 pounds. I have been on this plateau for months now and I cannot seem to break it. It has been suggested that I add more fats into my diet and do more cardio. However, I cannot seem to lose the tire around my hips. There is minimal body fat on the rest of my body though. Do you have any suggestions or advice for females who simply can't kick the extra body fat around their hips and butt? And actually, on that note, before we start answering this question, there is a very similar one here, actually, where a lady has written in and said that she's struggling to drop fat from around her tummy. So perhaps we can address this. Well, first of all, we'll look at body fat around the hips and butt, and then we'll talk about how to drop body fat from your tummy and get a flat tummy.
I think me and Rachel talked a bit about this off air before we came on, in that I think there's some really important parameters that we need to kind of nail going forward when people are looking to kind of really fine tune their physique. You know, let's say people have got fairly lean, you know, you're looking all right, but there's some fat hanging around and, you know, that kind of thing. And before I go on to that, I wanted to take a moment to kind of revise a point, because, you know, we're now 89 episodes into the podcast, and the reason why this thought process was spurred because I got a guy that tweeted me last week, you know, quite angrily. It was the first time I've ever had anyone say anything negative about the show. Everything's always been really positive. And this guy wrote a blog about both mine and someone else's podcast, Phil Lernies, and he sort of said, you guys have uninspired me to train. You guys have uninspired me to do all this kind of thing because of your opinion. And I was like, right, okay. So I started to read through his blog and try and understand his opinion and stuff. And he'd listened to 4 episodes. And I sort of said to him, you know, that's my opinion because of this, and that's because of your opinion because of that. And I was hoping that the guy would expand conversation a little bit more on Twitter, because I was actually going to invite him to come on the podcast and do a show with me and sort of say, do you know what? If you, as the average man, if I'm delivering the wrong message in some way, let's try and work it out. Because it might not just be you, it might be a load of other people that I need to try and relay that message to, and I need to change that message. So in kind of light of that, I thought of what my opinion was when we kind of started the podcast, and I think this is kind of an important not revision, but a clarification in kind of my thought process with the nutrition. And when it comes to the whole calorie and macronutrient element of nutrition, it's a very important and it's a very powerful area of nutrition, and I 100% understand that. But for me as an educator, I'm trying to get people to realize what nutrition actually means to the human body, what it accounts for, and what it can provide. And I would say a lot of the questions that we sort of had in the podcast in the early years were about me trying to get people to eat real food, understand what happens when they eat a food and the physical, mental and biochemical response of that food, rather than to just start me sitting here going, yep, you need to pay attention to your calories, you need to eat more protein, you need to do that, because it's an answer that people have been given for a long time, and we've understood these variables in nutrition for a long time. What I'm getting people to understand is that there's all this other stuff about how we eat the ratio of foods and how it makes you feel, the possible inflammatory agents in the diet, yada yada yada. So while I might have had this opinion that, you know, calories are not as important, or calories aren't important, don't track this, it becomes important wherever you are in the stage of your journey. If I get someone that's really overweight and has very poor lifestyle habits, the number one thing I want to do is change those habits rather than just restrict their diet from a calorie perspective. Yeah, don't get me wrong, the calorie respective prescription is going to change things, but it's not going to change their mental attitude towards food and how they view food as maybe a tool, as a comfort element. And I think as the questions have evolved along this podcast, my opinion has got more and more specific, because the people that are listening to the podcast have kind of upskilled themselves. They've learned more and they've kind of understood where I'm coming from. And that's why the questions that I'm going to answer in a minute about these two women, is a lot of them say, you know, I've been on this journey, I've been eating really clean, I've been eating good foods, I've worked out a couple of intolerances, that kind of thing. I'm like, brilliant. You've done, you know, the big part of the battle in terms of changing your ways and changing your diet. Now, this is where you get really specific. So you do need to understand the food that's on your plate, the percentage of protein, the percentage of carbohydrate, what works for you, your energy output, your energy in, your training stimulus. So at this point, you know, don't get me wrong, there is a little bit of mileage in some kind of spot fat reduction, but it is minimal. Like there is, you know, especially with fat storage in the lower limbs in females, there is an element of estrogen and progesterone imbalance. And that's something that I just mentioned, the learning zone on my website. I have a talk that directly kind of tackles that, how to optimize the menstrual cycle and how to try and reduce body fat in the lower limbs. That's something that I cover in that talk. So there are things you can do, but it's clutching at straws a little bit, because people still need to dial it all in, work out where their metabolic rate is, because you might be eating X amount of calories and actually your metabolism's a little bit lower, and you need to go lower for a period of time and then reverse diet back up again. That's probably something that, you know, I know how to reverse diet, but if I was to get a real expert on reverse dieting, perhaps I should try and get Lane back on the show, get him to talk about it. You know, he's fantastic at talking about that kind of stuff. But, you know, there's a huge amount of people that need a reverse diet in the industry that have been too much into the fitness zone and have really pushed their metabolism low. They're kind of holding on. And on my website very soon, Lane's tour content will be available, so you'll be able to watch his perspective on reverse dieting. So I should probably just leave it at that. If you want to learn more about it, go and kind of buy that video off him, because it's fascinating. But the other thing, apart from dialing in your calories and macronutrients, and this is one thing that Rachel said straight away, is like training intensity. Like, are you training hard enough? Do you actually know how to really push yourself? And, you know, if you push your muscles, they will respond in a fantastic way. Don't you think, Rachel? I've been talking for ages. Have a go.
No, it's all right. I'm listening to you. No, I, you know, like I said, we did sort of quickly talk about this off air, and, you know, with I think that this is a very, very common problem in females, regardless of whether we're talking about getting fat off the butt and thighs or whether we're talking about stubborn belly fat. The truth is that the number one thing that I look at, aside from obviously nutrition, is training intensity. And I think, first of all, we have to look at, is this person weight training? This particular question, the lady said that it's been suggested that she adds fat into her diet and does more cardio. Well, that I certainly wouldn't be adding in more cardio. I'd be looking definitely at weight training and the actual intensity and the volume and actually how hard and how much somebody is lifting. Because, if we're looking at stubborn lower body fat, I've got girls certainly training their legs 3, sometimes 4 times a week as part of a, whether it be an upper lower split or total body training, and basically just getting the legs going as much as possible. Now, in terms of how do you do that? Well, there's so many semi-private gyms around now. There's obviously personal trainers who can teach you these things. But I think, if you are just going to the gym by yourself, just step it up a little bit. Push harder, push harder, push harder. Maybe 1 rep left in the tank, 1 rep left in a tank. Just keep going, keep going, keep going until you really feel like you really cannot get any more out. Mm. And I think that's a trust thing on your own body, and you really have to learn where your limits are. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes the best way to do that is get a training buddy. If you're not going to get a personal trainer and you're not interested in going to another gym where they may do semi-private training, group sort of classes. I say group classes, they're not body pump and all of that stuff. I mean proper group training classes, semi-private training. Get a training buddy or somebody who actually knows what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. I think people need to take an example here about how kind of like figure models and stuff get into shape, because when you lose weight you end up looking good, and then to take that next step, that next level, to get like a really toned all over body, for example, to have like the same body fat percentage all over, there needs to be a real dedicated period where you really drill down into the diet. It may become low calorie for a while. You're training, you're busting your balls off, you're really focusing on specific areas, and every like model or anyone that steps on stage or has a photo shoot or anything like that will have a stubborn area of body fat. It will be there in every individual. For me, it's kind of my lower back and my abdomen's like the last place to go, and it is literally the last place to go. So you've just got to keep dialing it all in, bringing it back down, sucking it all up, and those places will just be the last areas to go. And that's just how it is, and that's just why we're all uniquely different. That's why we've all got our own little last place to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm prepping for a shoot as we speak. I'm currently at just over 11% body fat, and still my thighs are still hanging on in there. Like, I've got visible abs at the moment. I can see everything coming through. Everything's on form, but my thighs and my butt are they're still hanging on in there. And I guess I'm lucky. Like, my fat hangs in the right places on my butt, but still like. There's still that I can never get my legs lean enough, and that's probably why I'm never going to get on stage. When I'm shooting, my legs are never very, very lean. So it's one of those things that you do partially have to accept as well. And the truth is that curves are in. So there is a difference between killer curves and a fat bum and thighs. But the truth is that sometimes you do have to accept that, and that's how your body shape is. But we just have to make the best of it. So, the things with this question, let's talk about bum and thighs first. The first thing, diet and nutrition. Make sure you've got a high protein diet. Keep the chemicals out. I know people have various mixed differences and opinion on that. Make sure you have lots of fibrous vegetables in your diet. Yes, you want the good fats in them. Make sure that you do have carbohydrates in your diet. If you've got body fat to lose, keep those starchy carbs for after that you train. Make sure you're in the gym lifting minimum 4 times a week, and it's hard and it's heavy. You want to be looking at interval training, you know, things where you're getting some really good blood into your legs, and it's going to be hard and it's going to be sore. Recovery methods, you know, we can look at all sorts of lymphatic drainage. You can start looking at massage. We can start looking at scrubs. So, you know, having a pair of scrub gloves, so circulation, anything that encourages circulation around the area. So, you know, get the scrub gloves out. We can also look at infrared saunas. Infrared saunas are excellent at removing toxins from the body. Obviously, in terms of supplements, we can look at DIM, we can look at calcium deglutarate, we can look at all of the fibrous and cruciferous vegetables. So all of these things combined help. However, don't go and write these down on a shopping list and go and get them all at the same time. The most important thing is that you start with a high protein, clean diet, which is full of vegetables. And then we look at the other alternatives, you know, increasing your volume of your training and obviously the intensity of your training. And the same goes for belly fat. Obviously, for belly fat, I think we need to address 2 other things as well. And I know that, I mean, Ben, we've talked about this before. The first one being food intolerances, because if you've got foods in your diet that you are intolerant to, they can make you hold water, and they can make you look a lot more inflamed, a lot more puffy than you actually are. And the second thing would be stress and cortisol. And I'll add in a third here as well. Some people are genetically dispositioned to hold weight around their midsection. And does that mean that you can't get rid of it? No, but it means that you're going to have to work harder. So those would be the 3 things there. You know, we're making sure that your sleep is in check. We have to make sure that your nutrition is in check. And again, same thing, training intensity.
Rachel, you talking about your legs getting leaner in an infrared sauna. Have you ever tried adding all the ingredients in that drink that I presented in Australia?
No, what was in your drink?
I'm not going to say on this podcast because that shit's golden. But that I gave a drink that you need to drink 20 minutes before going into an infrared sauna while sitting on an exercise bike.
No, I've forgotten
about
that. Oh,
try it.
Okay, I'll try it.
You've got the seminar.
You've
got the seminar notes.
I'm getting hot here. Sorry, I'm going to have to take my fox onesie off. I'm getting really hot here.
It's so foxy. Yeah,
I know.
Look at the seminar slides. Have a look at that potion and start doing it 4 weeks out.
Okay. Well, I've got 2 weeks, so I'll give it a go as of tomorrow. But...
Okay, it might be a bit short, but you can try.
Okay, I'll give it a go. Well, I've got 4 weeks till I hit Marbella, so you know we'll give it a go. But you know, one thing just on the note of infrared saunas, for women in particular, women who've got breast implants, our infrared saunas, I know we're slightly digressing here, but I think this is important to address because I certainly know infrared saunas over here in Australia are quite popular. I'm not sure about the UK, but if you do have breast implants, just be careful in an infrared sauna because it does heat at a very deep level and it does extract toxins from a very deep level. So if you do have silicone implants, make sure that the sauna is no hotter than 60 degrees and you only want to be in there maximum 25 to 30 minutes. So you in and out 3 times a week. So, you know, I've discussed this with a lot of top trainers and, you know, is it really worth it? You know, we've weighed up the pros and the cons. Some trainers say no, you know, women with breast implants shouldn't be in the saunas. My opinion is that I think the pros outweigh the cons, and I think as long as you're sensible, you're not spending hours in there and you're not doing it on a daily basis, I think that you know, I think they're very beneficial.
I concur.
Cool. Good.
Let's move on.
Next question. Okay, cool. Alrighty. Hi, Ben and Rachel. I love the podcast and I've been listening to it for a while and you've inspired me to embark on my own journey into the fitness world and I'm just about to start training to become a PT. Ooh, I love these questions. I love it when we inspire people to join the fitness industry. I'm about to do the London Marathon for the first time and I've been training hard, although one problem keeps arising. My need to go to the loo, and I don't mean a wee. That dreaded feeling always comes at about 8 miles or sometimes sooner, and it's now a bit of a joke amongst my friends. #boils bum. That's funny.
Fresh.
But it's a real worry of mine. I even had to change training routes so that I had access to a public toilet. I know it's really grim. I eat pretty clean most of the time. My pre-run meal is always at least an hour beforehand and consists of porridge with some protein powder, some fruit, which is usually blueberries or raisins, and a bit of honey. I don't eat whilst running, with the exception of maybe a gel on the long runs. And I've swapped recently to Cliff Blocks a while ago, but I do have the same problem. What am I doing wrong? Is it me, or is runner's trots a real problem? Many thanks, Jamie. P.S. Appreciate that you may not be able to answer this before my big day, but he's running another marathon in October, so any help would be much appreciated.
Yeah, so we didn't get to that question by the time you've done the marathon because that has just passed us by. So apologies for that. Now this is an interesting one, and I don't have a concrete answer because I am not a doctor by any means. But I think the thing that's staring me in the face when it comes to the bowel, and this is the same, we've beaten this drum an awful lot, but people keep writing in with different issues, and I know that we have to highlight these issues because people will continue, just like I do, think I'm a unique little snowflake. So, Jamie's got a very different problem here, and it's kind of, it would seem it's quite physical. But for me, it's directly related to the gut. Now, if the gut has any dysbiosis or issues with it, it can present itself very quickly in the large intestine and dysregulate bowel consistency, timing, and the overall movement of it. So if your bowel becomes overly loose, it becomes harder, it becomes runnier, it becomes like it's not digesting food properly, then you've got to look at the overall intestinal function. Now, straight away, and I do this with everyone that I work with, and this is something that I talk about all the time in seminars, we talk about it on the podcast, you've got to look at intolerance-based foods. And I'm not 100% convinced that if your bowel is dysfunctional that there is nothing that could be problematic in your diet. Now, the meal that you eat before you go out on a run contains a lot of known inflammatory foods. So fructose, for example, can be hard to digest for some people, fructose malabsorption, and you're eating dried fruit. You eat porridge, which contains gluten, so again, it could be another potential allergen. And you have whey protein, dairy, again, another possible allergen. So there's 3 quite big players in there in your pre-run meal. So you could experiment, doing an elimination-based diet. So the talk that I mentioned earlier could be perfect for you if you're not really sure how to do it. Like I talk step by step how to do it over 30 days, and then how and what foods to bring back into the diet, for example. But I just definitely think that you need to do some investigation because it's obviously not normal. It doesn't happen to an awful lot of people, but I think it happens to people that are not functioning 100%. And I think, for me, that's the one thing that you've got to explore. And I suppose as a side point, just make sure that you're not overly hydrated and the bowel is struggling to extract its own water from the feces. Because water will be extracted from the bowel, and sometimes when you are overly hydrated, the body won't take as much water out of the bowel. So, I mean, that's probably a small thing, but it's just something to bear in mind because I know that being an endurance-based individual, people will be geeky about their hydration and how much fluid they're taking on board, and you can take on too much. Of course you can. So that's probably the key thing that I would work on, to be honest. And if anyone's got any opinion or anyone listening to the podcast has experienced this themselves, then please do write in bencoomber@gmail.com and kind of let us know, because I think it's an interesting one and it's not something that I would say I'm overly qualified to comment an awful lot on.
I'd say the same. Like Dr. Rachel doesn't know the answer to this one, I'm afraid. So, I'd probably suggest the same things, but I really don't have anything to add. Perhaps I should ask a friend of mine. He's an ultra marathon runner, and he's very clued into obviously marathons and nutrition for marathons. He comes from a very holistic background, so I'll mention it to him next time I see him, and I'll see if we can come up with something. But apart from that, I think that's all we've got to say on that.
Yeah.
Okay, next one. Hi, Ben and Rachel. I'm a long-time listener of the podcast and big supporter of both TDT products. They are amazing, those TDT products. Anyway, I need your help. I'm a school teacher and I'm going on a 5-day residential to Paris in July. I've been on a visit there before and I know the quality and the type of food served is not good. However, last time I went, I was a lot bigger, uneducated, and very, very far from where I am now. Anyway, I've been racking my brains of what to do preparation-wise to ensure I'm getting the right food and nutrition that I need. I know I can probably get eggs for breakfast, but dinner will be sandwiches and tea, and most likely processed meat and veg. I may not have a chance to pop down to a shop to get some quality food, as I will be in charge of children. I could take my own food with me, but where I'm going doesn't have a fridge. And whilst I have eaten unrefrigerated chicken for 2 days, 5 days is a bit much. Any suggestions? I'm thinking tinned fish, shakes, bars, and greens.
Good question, because I think at some point when I coach someone, I get a question like this when a client has to go away on a trip, and obviously they've really invested themselves in living a healthier life. It's easy to do when you're at home and you've got your own kitchen, your own pantry, your own cupboards, and you're in control of your own food. But as soon as you go away, it can cause a little bit of a, shit the bed moment to think, oh my God, what am I going to do? And, it's fair enough. And all I'll really comment on is what I would do personally. Like if I go away for 3 days on a trip up north or something, I will usually buy food for 1 day on the way, on the journey. So in the morning I'll stop by. In the UK there's a lot of small M&S shops, and I'll do like a day's food shop in M&S and carry it around in a carrier bag. I personally don't kind of Tupperware up loads of food, because you've then got to carry that around in your carry-on and stuff. So I just take clothes and then buy stuff on the way. So I'll buy food for 1 day, and then in like my suitcase I'll usually have I'll take a Core 150 shaker, because you can fit at least 4 protein shakes in it. So I'll take that with me. So there's 4 servings of protein. I'll take a couple of bags of mixed nuts. I'm quite a big fan of Trek bars. In the UK they have a Trek bar with coconut in it, and they are amazeballs. So I'll have that. I might take some greens. The problem is the greens might take up a bit of room in my suitcase, but at least the greens you can guarantee that you're just going to get some high density antioxidants and veggies in there. So I'll try and always look for a protein source, and then I'll probably always look for a source of fruit, because whenever you travel it's usually quite easy to get fruit. It's handheld. They tend to put it out with meals if you're in a place where you're being catered for. It's not always as easy to get good quality vegetables, or vegetables that haven't been cooked within an inch of their life, or just as a kind of a side portion. So even if most places serve lunches and they're serving sandwiches and crisps and all that kind of stuff, there'll usually be fruit out. So I might just have like a protein shake, massive handful of nuts, and like a banana, or an apple and some grape, whatever it is. And then by all means, guys, yeah, you could take some tuna fish if you wanted to. Might be a bit cumbersome taking your old, or you can get these like tuna fish pouches now, so you just sort of tear off the top and you could just eat it out of that. But I think what you've got to bear in mind is at this point for anyone, you can't overly stress that things are going to be perfect, because they just won't be perfect. And don't feel bad or don't judge yourself in any way. Like, it's just 5 days. It's just 5 days. All I would say is make sure you keep your protein levels up. That would be my first thing. I would then think, right, I'm going to try and get as much nutrition in me as possible, so fruits and vegetables where I can, and I just carry around a load of different fat sources. I usually take loads of dark chocolate, because I love dark chocolate. Guilty. And good source of fats. And then just run with it. And you'll probably be busy, so you probably won't overly think about your food. And then the one meal I probably wouldn't cater for is dinner, because the chances are you might be at a restaurant, or you might be sitting down, and you'd quite like to sit down to a decent meal and have something warm and hot, because it can get very boring eating cold food all the time. So I think if you circumnavigate it like that, you're pretty close to doing the right thing with the environment that you're going to be in.
I would second all of that, and the two things that I never go without, and wherever I travel, whether it be all over the world, and I've never stopped going into countries with these things, is I actually take coconut butter with me. So I have a jar of coconut butter. I prefer coconut butter to oil. So the difference between coconut oil and coconut butter is that the butter is made of the actual flesh of the coconut, as well as the oil of the coconut. And for me, it tastes much better. It's a lot more palatable, and I can eat it just straight out of the pot.
Yeah.
Me too. I'm a big fan of dark chocolate. That's sometimes my fat source. Nuts, and I always carry with me a greens drink. So usually, obviously protein powder as well, but greens for me that would be my priority. And you can get greens and you can get reds and all sorts of different things. So good tips there.
Yeah. And apart from that, just enjoy being away.
Enjoy being away. Enjoy Paris. It's a beautiful city, and I'm sure you're going to have a fabulous time. And good luck looking after those kitties.
Oui, bon Paddy.
I know. I've got 2 questions left.
Cool.
Ready to rock? Okay, so let's talk about TDT whilst we're on the topic. Hi Ben, I wanted to see if you could give me more insight into the transdermal process. I suppose my interest has been sparked based upon your performance spray as I've used it over the past few weeks. If the transdermal processes are as effective as they are claimed to be, should we reconsider the effect of everything that we put on our skin? For example, should we be wary of moisturisers, aftershaves, perfumes, makeup, and the latter for the female listeners? How far do we need to take this? Should we avoid using body washes and bubble baths, or do things like Lynx Recover Shower Gel? Do Lynx do shower gels now? I'm so out of it. Sorry.
What do you mean? Lynx have always done shower gel.
Oh, have they?
Yeah.
I really remember.
If you don't know what to buy someone for Christmas, a lot of the time you'd buy them a Lynx gift pack, and it would have a deodorant and a shower gel in it. And if you were really shit to buy for, you just end up with like 6 Lynx double packs for Christmas. It's what you get like an uncle that you don't know who to shop for at Christmas, and an uncle will get like 6 Lynx packs.
Can't you just buy Lynx in Sainsbury's and stuff?
Well, yeah, you can, but whatever.
Okay, these are special packs. Anyway, I digress. I didn't know that. Okay, so things like Lynx Recover Shower Gel provide benefit through the form of transdermal. Sorry, let me rephrase that. See, I'm off topic again. Do things like Lynx Recover Shower Gel provide recovery benefits through the form of transdermal? What about the clothes that we wear each day and that are in contact with our skin? The materials that they are made of, or the washing powder that resides? Any insight you can share would be greatly appreciated. By the way, does TDT Performance Spray need specifically be applied to the hands, or can it be applied to the arms and the legs for the same effects? Thanks, Tim.
Ooh, there's a lot going on here, and you'll have to let me know if I miss anything out. But I put this in because it's a really interesting topic in general, what we apply to the skin, and also it's one of the key questions I get from people when they say, well, will that actually absorb through my skin? And I'm like, yeah, I called the company Transdermal Technology because I couldn't think of anything else to call it. It was the one business that I've set up, and I've been like, do you know what? I just have no idea. And I think, well, actually, there's no one talking about transdermal. So if we're going to talk about transdermal a lot, let's really put the brand out there as talking about transdermal. Let's start off by that being the kind of icebreaker. And people say to me, well, where's this technology come from? And I'm like, we've been using this technology for like 15 years. Like the medical industry have been using transdermal application of stuff for a long time. Transdermal hormones are really popular, like rubbing estrogen and testosterone cream onto your body. It's a fantastic way to get hormones into the body. So people say, well, isn't the skin meant to protect from things outside the body? Well, yes, it is, but any semi-porous material will let some particles in and will keep some particles out, and it all depends on particle size and thus the gradient that it will create. So if you have something on the skin that has a very small particle size and the gap in that skin is big, then it will create a gradient that will allow that particle to pass through. So we spent a long time looking at the ingredients that we were going to put in this stuff and said, well, actually, will that particle transfer transfer through the skin? What is the particle size, and what does the skin allow through? And so we didn't put anything in there that wouldn't be kind of absorbed. I got asked the other day, can we have transdermal BCAAs? And I'm like, no, sorry, particle size is way too big. But it's an interesting thought process, because we're now noticing that transdermal absorption is way more effective than gut absorption. So the first thing is, can stuff pass through the skin? Yes, it can. Like, you might get an injury and you use ibuprofen gel. The ibuprofen goes straight into the skin and has a localized effect on the area. And this is exactly what we're doing. It's the same premise. So I know a huge amount of healthcare practitioners, not a huge amount, well, a huge amount in a bit more of the kind of holistic, I'd describe it as a bit more the kind of hippie area of nutrition, if I was to give it a kind of name that sounds a little critical, and I don't mean to be critical, because they're all warranted areas of nutrition. But, you know, there's practitioners that I know that would be like, we need to be using organic skincare. You need to be watching out what's going on your skin. You need to put a filter on your shower head because of the chlorine and the other chemicals in it, etc. Now, for a large amount of people, this might not be an issue, but there are a certain amount of people, and again, we're all unique, in that people need to be wary of this. Like, if people have dysregulated hormone function, then hormone mimickers that might be going on the skin might be a real issue. If you're someone that has very sensitive skin, then yes, you need to be aware of what goes on your skin. For example, there's someone in my family that we have to use a specific washing powder, because when you wash the clothes, some of that washing powder will stay on the clothes, it will sort of stay impregnated, and it causes a rash on the skin. So straight away we're seeing examples of where there is nutrients that are irritating the skin because they get absorbed slightly. It's like a moisturizer. You rub a moisturizer on your hand. It doesn't work by creating some kind of film that makes your hands soft. It works by absorbing itself into the skin. It nourishes the skin. It provides vitamins and minerals that help build healthy skin and collagen, and nourishes it from a moisture level. So yeah, I mean, transdermal for me is very powerful. I think it's hugely effective. You know, we're seeing some absolute awesome stuff in the feedback that we're kind of getting. But should you be concerned about stuff that you're using? Maybe, maybe not. I would say if you lived a very whole foods diet, you cooked a lot from scratch, had a huge amount of organic food, you're well hydrated, would the small amount of chemicals passing through your skin be a problem? Potentially not. If you had any underlying problems or any genetic markers that would predispose you to any issues, like for example, if you were predisposed to thyroid issues, I would probably put filters on your house, because chlorine can block the thyroid receptors in the body. So that, again, there's something there that might be predisposed to you, and thus you have to pay attention to that. If you were a normal person living a very toxic lifestyle and there was a lot going in the body and a lot going on the skin, then it might be problematic. But for me, you've got to be prepared to take that next step with your health to say, oh, I'm going to change all my skincare products and I'm going to make them organic, yada yada. Because it is, you know, it is more expensive. Organic skincare is usually about twice the price as normal skincare, probably for a good reason. I personally, I used to use normal skincare products on my face and I was a bit spotty, and when I went and started using organic soap, they went away. So for me, there was a definite buy-in from me. I've always used organic face soap ever since, even if I didn't use organic skincare on the rest of my body. I do think it's important. So it's definitely very individualistic. But I know some practitioners that are like, you need organic skincare, and they've obviously done an awful lot of research into this kind of stuff. Did I miss any questions off that? There was a lot of small questions throughout that paragraph.
No, that was it. The only other thing was, can you apply your the performance spray to any other body part other than your hands?
Yeah, I think I would be better to revise this question in a fortnight. I've literally just been sent a research paper by Manchester Metropolitan Uni that have done another small study for us and found out exactly what your question is. If I applied it to my arm, would it be the same as the hand, as the leg,
Okay.
as the neck, you know, wherever?
Let's talk about it in a fortnight then.
Yeah, but in a nutshell, they found slight improvements by putting it on the hand.
Okay.
In terms of absorption.
To the hand.
Yeah.
I mean, from a female perspective, look, I agree with you. It's one of those things. Like I have organic skincare on my face, my body, my hand washes, my soaps, and etc. etc. However, I wear chemical filled makeup because I cannot find anything else like MAC. MAC is my favorite makeup. I can't find anything else. So, you know, it's one of those things. Like I figured, well, if I take care of the rest of myself, my body's pretty clean, then the chemicals that I put on my skin, on my face, well, they're doing all right. So, but no, you've answered everything else. So we've just got one short one left because we are having a monster episode here. We're going over an hour. So, hi, Ben and Rachel, and this is from Ryan. Great show. Just a quick question regarding cycling of supplements. I currently take creatine, glutamine, leucine, HMB, and I've been taking these for the past year. How do you recommend taking them due to the according to the manufacturer's guidelines with regards to dosage, or is there a particular formula? How would you typically cycle? For example, would you have a week's break? And how would you take these supplements on rest days? Thank you.
Well, if you don't know how to take a supplement, I would question why you've bought it.
Yes.
You've just given me a list of supplements, which to me, you have no idea why you're taking it and for what purpose it's going to give you. So that is my big bugbear with people, you know, being too supplement heavy. If the foundation of your diet is rock solid, then by all means start to invest in some supplements. But if it's not rock solid, you haven't got the foundations, which is the bricks and mortar to your house, then you need to do that. So glutamine, for example, for me, I would say glutamine has very specific uses. It's been put on a pedestal by the fitness industry for a very long time, and I would say it's unwarranted. I would use glutamine in endurance athletes, people potentially recovering from injury or burns, or people that have dysregulated bowel function. And I want to help the mucosal lining of the gut. That's the only people that I would use glutamine. I don't think it will help increase muscle mass, training intensity, anything like that. BCAAs I would use potentially in a workout just to guarantee that there's BCAAs being delivered to the muscle, which will act as a very potent anti-catabolic fuel source. But otherwise, you know, if it's in your diet, I would question why. Is it insufficient in protein? Leucine, I think we discussed leucine a fortnight ago we did. We discussed it a fortnight ago in terms of the timing and why. So that's my opinion on that. In terms of cycling on and off supplements, again, it's a case of why you're taking it. Like, if you take something to aid recovery, for example, and you're not training one day, you probably wouldn't take that. It's like my recovery spray, for example, I don't have any trouble sleeping, and I would sometimes recommend my recovery spray to people that don't sleep as well, because magnesium acts as a muscle relaxant and a central nervous system relaxant. So I would recommend people to apply it before bed on an area with good blood flow, but I wouldn't do that because I don't need it for that purpose. So I would only use recovery spray after the gym because it has its purpose there and then. So you've got to know why you're doing these things. In terms of cycling, I always just say to people, look, whenever you're having a deload, when you're having a week off, a holiday, stop all your supplements, forget about it, go away, you know, just come off them then. Did he mention any other supplements, or did I cover them all?
HMB and creatine.
Creatine's, again, that's something I'd always have in the diet. Unless you were taking a deload or a holiday, then take it away. But I think creatine's very effective. And HMB, I would only give to someone that was injured and would need to retain their muscle tissue. Otherwise, I don't really think it has a place. Because if you're trying, the theory is I'm going to take it to protect my muscle. If you're training, you're protecting your muscle. Like, training itself is the most potent anti-catabolic thing you can do, because weight training sends a metabolic growth stimulus to the muscle. So yeah. So please, people, and this applies to all the people listening to this podcast, if you take a supplement, know why you take it. Otherwise, you're just wasting your money, and you're taking it on false hope. And it's the same with my products. Like, I never falsely sell or recommend my products to anyone. I say, look, this is how it works. This is how it could benefit. It may benefit you. It may not. Like, for me, I would be losing my credibility, instantly if I was to recommend my stuff to someone that didn't need it or hadn't built a foundation. And for me, this is what this evolution of this podcast has been all about. It's about building the knowledge to create a really powerful foundation for you to be really healthy, not just today, but tomorrow and 10 years down the line.
Captain Benny's spoken. Don't take supplements unless you know what's in them and what they do for you. There you go. Exactly.
It's quite painful to see. There's a guy in my rugby club, and he's only like, I don't know, he's probably like 17. And I was in the gym training. He just walked up to me and he's like, Ben, what do you think of this muscle farm stuff? I've just been and bought it off the internet for my training and stuff. And I just sort of, I wanted to just hang my head in my hands. I was like, dude, you don't need it. I'm like, honestly, just get your training sorted. You do not need a powerful stimulant to train, because I think he bought their pre-workout. I was like, you don't need that. It's not going to help your gains. Like, you just need to really nail the solid foundation. Please just don't throw it in a bin. Just keep it in the cupboard. Maybe take it on a real freaking rainy day when you're feeling really in the ground or something and you want to train. But trust me, do not get into playing around with supplements that early on, because supplements, can aid things. And if you can leave them for those times where, gains might be a bit tough, you need a little plateau buster, then get it in there.
I agree. I mean, I've known guys before, and I'm sure there's women out there who are guilty of this as well, but in particular guys who have literally skipped training sessions because they've either forgotten their pre-workout, or they haven't got their BCAAs, or they've forgotten their protein shake for after training. I mean, like, seriously. I'm trying not to swear this podcast. I think I'm doing quite well so far. I really want to say, fuck's sakes, just fucking train. Like, deal with that after. Like, do the work. Like, do work and then go feed yourself. It's not the end of the world. One training session, my God, come on.
Yeah.
I was doing so well, God damn it.
Oh well. Right. Thanks everyone
That's
for
all
listening.
For me. I'm done. I'm spent. I've dropped the F-bomb. I'm sorry. I couldn't do it.
It's okay. I've already said it
You
today.
Did.
Thanks everyone for listening. You all are awesome as ever. If you've enjoyed the podcast, please do the show a massive honour and give it a retweet, a share on Facebook. Give it a like when you see it on Facebook. Just help spread the message. If you haven't left a review on iTunes, please do that. I'd be very grateful. It would help a lot. If you want to check out my work, everything's at bencoomber.com, along with all my new education material. There'll be stuff added after this show. There's a lot happening at the moment in terms of new content, because I've been doing a lot of stuff with different people. If you want to check out Rachel's work, you need to go to
www.athleticfox.com.
There we go.
Or my new membership site, well, God, it's not even new anymore. It's been up and running since March. Is, if you want to train with me online, athleticfoxblueprint.com.
Awesome. And of course, you can find us on the social networks, Facebook, Twitter. We are there, Athletic Fox and Ben Coomber. I will have a guest on the show next week. I think it should be Doug Kaufman. And we're going to talk about some very in-depth stuff. And then me and Rachel will be back on the show in a fortnight. So that is goodbye from me.
Bye from me.
Ciao, everyone. Stay awesome. Hey, everyone. Ben Coomber Radio, episode number 88. This week, I have a bit more of a training-focused edge to it, purely because that's his discipline. But I think we're going to get stuck in some fascinating nutrition chat as well. I have Paralympic bench pressing Jedi Ali Jawad. Hello.